Good morning, students. Welcome back to the another session for the finite element analysis. Today we are going to see the last unit of the course, isoparametric formulation. Isoparametric formulation. Okay, in the last unit itself, we saw about continuum. What is meant by continuum and how we are going to discretize the continuum with triangular elements. So the same concept is with the entire course, throughout the entire course. Here we are going to see about the isoparametric formulation. So normally the finite element method is a powerful technique for analyzing the elements or any complex problems or irregular geometry. So continuum is one of the irregular geometry. The 2 or 3 dimensional elements, which we call it as a triangle, rectangle, brick, cannot be used efficiently for irregular geometrics that we discussed in the previous units. So here in this unit, we are going to discuss about that. So here we are considering one continuum. The figure shows itself, it is a continuum. And the second figure shows it is discretized, the continuum which is discretized by using the triangular elements. It is difficult to represent the curved boundaries by straight edge elements. It is very difficult to represent the curved boundaries by straight edge elements. A large number of elements may be used to obtain reasonable resemblance between original body and assemblage. So here the large number of elements may be used to obtain a resemblance between the original body and the assemblage. Okay, to overcome this drawback, we are using isoparametric elements for solving this problem. Okay, in these problems, so it is involved with the curved boundaries, a family of elements which is known as isoparametric elements. Okay, the isoparametric elements which are used to get the analysis of the irregular parts and irregular elements to get the exact analysis which is used to get the output of the element. Okay, the next one is natural coordinates. Because we should know what is natural coordinate and why we are using the natural coordinates. It is used to define any point inside the element by set of dimensional numbers whose magnitude never exceeds unity. So it is very useful in the assembling of stiffness matrices. It is very useful in the assembling of stiffness matrices. So the natural coordinates in one dimension. So first we are going to see about in one dimension. How we are using the natural coordinates in one dimension. Okay, here there is a two-noded element which is shown in the diagram. There is a two-noded element which is shown in the diagram. At point P, inside the line, the element is identified by two natural coordinates L1 and L2. Two natural coordinates L1 and L2. And the Cartesian coordinate X. And the Cartesian coordinate X. Node 1 and node 2 have the Cartesian coordinates x1 and x2, and it has the x1 y1 and x2 y2 as 1 comma 0 and 0 comma 1, which is called as the coordinate points of the node 1 and node 2. Here the total weightage of the natural coordinates at any point is unity, which is called as L1 plus L2 is equal to 1. So here the total weightage of the natural coordinates that we getting as L1 plus L2 is equal to 1. So any point x within the limit can be expressed as linear combination of the nodal coordinates of nodes 1 and 2 as L1 x1 plus L2 x2 is equal to x. So when we comparing or considering the both the nodes n1 and n2, node 1 and node 2, L1 x1 plus L2 x2 is equal to x. So now we are arranging these equations in the matrix form. So 1 1, matrix of 1 1, x1 x2, vector of L1 L2 is equal to 1 x. So here there is no x terms, only L1 plus L2. So we are taking as 1 1 in the first row, and here x1 x2 in the, so we are taking here as x1 and x2, and the vector is formed as here as L1 and L2, which is equal to vector of 1 and x. Now we need to find out the value of L1 and L2. So we are taking this matrix on the other side. So L1 vector of L1 L2 is equal to matrix of 1 1 x1 x2 the whole inverse vector into vector of 1 x. Now which is equal to 1 by x1 minus x2. 1 by x1 minus x2 is into matrix of x2 minus 1 minus x1 1 into matrix of 1x. So we get this value from the below notations A11, A12, A21, A22 of minus 1 is equal to 1 by A11 into A22. A11 into A22 minus A12 into A21 into A22 minus A12 minus A21 minus plus A11. So this is the formation of this point. So here, which is equal to 1 by x2 minus x1 into x2 minus x minus x1 plus x. So which is equal to 1 by x2 minus x1 into vector of x2 minus x minus x1, which is equal to 1 by L into x2 minus x into x minus x1, where x2 minus x1 is the length of the element, which is called as L. So how we taking this L? Here x2 minus x1 is called as L. So we taking here as L. Therefore, L1 vector of L1 L2 is equal to x2 minus x by x1 by L. Sorry, x2 minus x by L and x minus x1 by L. So the variation of L1 and L2. Now we are going to see the variation of L1 and L2 in the below showing figures. Here there's a line which has two nodes and variation of L1. Now we are going to see the variation of L1 in this point. So it will increase. So from the node 1 to the element 1 and it connects to the other node 2. Likewise, this is the variation of L1, variation of L1, and now we are going to see the variation of L2 from 1 to 1 and joins at the point node 2. So this is the variation of L2. So The polynomial terms in natural coordinates can be performed by using the simple formula, which is called as integral of x1 to x2 L1 alpha L2 beta into dx, which is equal to alpha factorial beta factorial divided by alpha plus beta plus 1 the whole factorial into Lx, where alpha factorial is the factorial of alpha. Now natural coordinates epsilon. Normally in one-dimensional problem, the following type of natural coordinates is also used. So what is the following type? So what's the following type? In the local number of scheme, the first node will be numbered as 1 and the second node will be numbered as 2. C is the center of nodes 1 and 2 and P is the point referred. So the natural coordinate epsilon for any point in the element is defined as. So in the local number scheme, the first node will be numbered as 1 and the second node will be numbered as 2. And C is the center of nodes 1 and 2 and P is the point which is referred. Now natural coordinates in 2 dimensions. So here point P is the point, let P is the point inside the element and it has 3 coordinates L1, L2 and L3. So from the definition of natural coordinates, we know that L1 plus L2 plus L3 is equal to 1 and L1 x1 plus L2 x2 plus L3 x3 is equal to x and L1 y1 plus L2 y2 plus L3 y3 is equal to y. So this is the combination of natural coordinates in 1 dimension to 2 dimensions. Now we are going to see about the isoparametric element. Now see the figure, it has a quadrilateral element. Here in this element that there are 2 different nodes are there. One is with a dotted node and another one is a triangular node. The nodes which are shown as dotted nodes are defining geometry. The nodes which are showing as triangular node are defining displacements. In this isoparametric element, all the 8 nodes are used in defining geometry as well as displacements. So in this isoparametric element, all the 8 nodes, here that is 8 nodes are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 nodes are there. So all the 8 nodes are defining the geometry as well as defining the displacements. If the number of nodes used for geometry is same as number of nodes used for defining the displacements, then it is known as isoparametric element. If the number of nodes used for geometry is same as number of nodes which is used for the defining the displacement is called as isoparametric element. Now superparametric elements. Here 8 nodes are there. 4 nodes are defining the geometry as well as displacements. 4 nodes are defining only geometry. So if the number of nodes used for defining the geometry is more than the displacements, then it is called as superparametric element. If the number of nodes which is used for defining the geometry is more than the number of nodes defining the displacements, then it is called as superparametric element. Now subparametric element. subparametric element. Here, 4 nodes are defining displacements and 4 nodes are defining geometry with displacements. So here the number of nodes which is used for defining the geometry is less than number of nodes defining the displacement, then it is called as subparametric elements. The number of nodes which is defining the geometry is less than the number of nodes which is defining the both the geometry and displacements, then it is called as, if the number of nodes which is defining the geometry is less than the number of nodes which is defining the displacements, then it is called as subparametric elements. So this is the introduction part of these isoparametric elements. Thank you.